We are live. Let's see if the internet holds up today, Chris.
Hopefully.
How are you doing?
Amazing. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm glad we got a chance to sit back down and catch up again. So for those of you out there that don't know, my name is Amanda Forbes, and I'm sitting down today with Chris Sky, the director of MAD and Pod Education, as well as the Back to Work initiative. Am I saying that one right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to just tell everybody kind of what each program does? Because I
Sure.
know they're very important. So I want people to be very aware of what's going on with you.
Sure. So we'll start with Back to Work, because when the lockdown first happened back in March, I was one of the people that was privy to all this information beforehand. So I knew the number one target for our economy and for everything was going to be our small businesses. And small businesses are the backbone of our middle class. They make up 97% of all businesses in Canada. They make up 70% of all the jobs in Canada. And I knew that when they said a 2-week lockdown, it was going to be a lot longer than 2 weeks, and we were going to start losing businesses and jobs, and it was going to drastically affect us. So I created a nonprofit group called Back to Work, with a Back to Work initiative, a Back to Work website, and a Facebook group. The initiative basically was designed to get all these businesses to sign up into an anonymous network where I was the only one that knew who was in the network. They would donate $100 into a legal fund, and I would teach them. First of all, I would go through their lease with each and every one of them and show them if they had a clause that said they weren't responsible for paying rent during a government enforced lockdown. And at least 1 out of 3 people have that in their lease, as long as they had a good realtor. So a lot of these people were paying rent to their landlords when they didn't even have to. And a lot of these people were actually entitled to refunds from their landlords. Oh, I think I lost you.
There you are.
You back? I don't know if it's working, so I don't want to talk.
Okay, let me to my me that. Let I can get in.
I'm going to try to leave and come back in.
Okay, sounds good. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. I can see that you guys are there, but every time we say Chris's name today, my internet is going to be too bad. But Chris is back here, so let's see what we can come up with here. There you are. As soon as you left, it came back on.
Yeah, that's what happened.
It's so ridiculous.
I think they're on to me now. They know I just did an interview, and now they don't want me to do another one. But yeah, so back to work.
No kidding.
So we taught the people about their lease. I showed the people how to work within the guidelines. We give 2 options: passive resistance and active resistance. Now, passive resistance means you're a single mom, you own a little hair salon with 3 chairs in it, and they tell you can't be open, and they threatened you with fines and closure. It's probably not in your best interest to just open up your door and leave everything open and tell them to come in and fine you. So what we did for people like that, tell them to close their door, keep their lights off, invite people by appointment only, call them when you're ready for them, and don't have more than a few people in the shop at any time. That way, if bylaw shows up, you can let them in and just say you were training people, you were cleaning, etc., you were hanging out, and there's nothing they can do. They can't fine you, they can't do anything to you. And now you can generate a revenue without closing. The other idea was active resistance. And this is where we were trying to get a conglomerate of people together of certain business types, gyms, restaurants, whatever, and simply say, sorry, we're not going to close. Come and get us. That way, when they come to try to get one, they can call all the other restaurants. They can call me. We can bring protesters, other business owners, lawyers, etc. Make a media circus out of it to the point where it's not in the government's best interest to try to find these people. And if you saw, our efforts are bearing fruit. They just closed down all the gyms and everything last week. I went nuts, and I was getting all the restaurant owners and all the gym owners together to come together and say, we're going to open one way or the other, whether you like it or not. The government caught wind of this. So what did they do? Rather than allow us to defy them and show that they really have no power, now they're telling everybody, we're giving you permission to open the gyms and restaurants this weekend. No, the only reason they're doing that is because I got all the restaurants and gyms together to say, we're going to open. So now the government wants to make it look like they gave permission rather than people are just defying them because there's nothing the government can do. So I want everybody to know that. Everybody knows they told you the gyms and stuff were going to be closed for 4 weeks. So why else did they open them in 1 week? I'll give you a hint. Because of what we're doing. Yeah. It's that simple.
United non-compliance.
Thank you. That's the pinnacle of united non-compliance. Bringing everybody together in one voice to say, no, you're not going to take my livelihood. No, you're not going to close my business. No, you're not going to control my life. And guess what? Now you're allowed to open. So I have all these business owners calling me and saying, what should I do? What should I do? What should I? Stay open. Call other businesses like you, other businesses in your plaza. Tell them, stay open. Yeah. If they give you a hassle, if they try to fine you, we fight it together.
Right.
Simple.
Now, what would happen? You know what? We know it's the fine that business owners are terrified of. So let's say they get a fine. What do they do next?
Well, if they're part of the Back to Work network, they can call me and our lawyer will fight the fine for them. That's what part of being the network has. You donate into a legal fund, and then you get access to our lawyers, and you get access to the legal fund to help pay your legal fee. Mm-hmm. However, if they're going to be not wanting to give out people fines, because if they give you a fine, guess what? You're going to have no choice but to fight it in court. And then guess what? You're going to win.
You're going to win.
And then guess what? The whole charade collapses. So that's why they just want to walk into your business and say, we're going to give you a $50,000 fine and take your license. And 99.9% of the time, the business owner shits their pants and closes the door like a pussy. And that's how this is all being perpetuated. Because guess what? If 1,000 business owners said and took the fine and took it to court, first of all, it's not even going to go to court for 2 years. What makes more sense? Maybe paying a fine 2 years from now that you can put as an operating cost of your business over the last 2 years, or letting your business go bankrupt now, losing everything you ever worked for. Because in reality, you're just too scared to stand up for yourself. That's the reality.
Yep. No kidding. Now, and the same thing happened with, when we were down at Queen's Park and Randy Hillier called out Doug Ford. There were 200 of us there, social gathering, and not one bylaw officer and not one cop, like nothing. You know what I mean? So I'm tired of the threats. Like,
they're full of crap.
You guys. It's all.
We had a Halloween on Saturday night. There was a Halloween party. The organizers invited me because they were expecting cops to show up, and they figured if the cops did show up, I might be able to do something about it. Guess what happened? The cops showed up. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the party shit their pants and locked the door. They're all in a unit, a warehouse. I went outside. I talked to the cops. I told them straight, what do you guys want? Oh, well, the bylaws and this and that. We're going to have to call bylaw. We got to shut the party down. I'm like, guys, it's Halloween. We're having a party, and you're not going to shut it down. I love you guys. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate law enforcement, but I'm not going to let you shut down the party. Like, well, there's not much you're going to be able to do about it. We're going to get the bylaw. Our boss is going to come out. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You can call your bylaw. You can call your boss. Tell them we're having an indoor gathering with more people than allowed. And when they all show up here, I'll turn the music on louder than before, make everybody walk outside on the private property where we have permission to be, and we'll continue our party outside. Nothing's going to change for us. We'll still be partying. We'll still be here. The only difference is you guys are going to be stuck here sitting on the hoods of your car watching us till 5 a.m. I'm like, I have no problem with that. You guys are more than welcome to party. I'm like, if you want, I'll even order you Uber Eats. But the fact of the reality is, if you try to shut down our party, I'll create a stalemate, and there's nothing you can do about it. Guess what they did? They waited 20 minutes. They came and knocked on the door to get me, and they said, can we talk to you for a second? I said, sure. I went back outside. They said, we're going to make you a deal. I said, what? I said, we're going to call bylaw over. We called our boss. When bylaw gets here, we want you to let us come into the party, make sure everything's okay, nobody's injured or anything like that. We don't care about the drugs. We don't care about the alcohol. We don't care how many people are in there. We just want to make sure everybody's safe. Then we're going to use our discretion not to apply a fine or a citation and simply give you an educational talk, and then we'll be on our way. So I went inside the party. I said, guys, the cops are coming in. Don't worry, everything's fine. Everybody shit their friggin' pants. I brought the cops and bylaw in. They walked around. They went upstairs, saw the people, went outside. They gave me my educational talk. They wrote their notes, and they said, thanks, have a good night, and they left. So, believe me, These bylaws, these fines, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all to scare you to comply. Same thing with my quarantine charge. You think those are going to hold up in court?
Right. Now let's talk about that, because we have a lot of American listeners. So for those that don't know, I want you to walk our US buddies through this story, because this is something else.
Okay. So we got the mandatory quarantine in Canada, 14 days when you come back from travel. Of course, if you're a government official, it doesn't apply to you because you're special and you can't get sick and you can't get other people sick. But if you're a normal civilian, you have to give up your rights and freedoms because they say so, in a violation of our charter, which is not right. So I went on vacation. I came back. I was in Ireland. I was speaking at a protest in Ireland. It was fantastic. It was like 15,000 people. I got back on September 20th. They made me fill out the quarantine form. They knew I wasn't sick when I came back. I had no symptoms or nothing. So I had to fill out the form before they let me go. In fact, I didn't even sign the form, to be honest. My wife filled out the form and I didn't even sign it. I'm pretty sure I wrote no comply as the signature if I even put anything. Because I know for a fact that when you bring it, they don't even look at it. They just make you drop it into a box. So you can literally write anything on there. You can write my name as Bozo the Clown. I live at 123, go screw yourself. And there's nothing they can do about it at that point because they won't know. But so I put it in there. And they all knew I was scheduled to protest September 26th. It's all over the internet. So September 25th, the day before the protest, the police showed up at my house to do a quarantine check on me. I was there, honest. So I showed up to the front door. So I came out the front door and they were waiting for me. And they won't come to your front door because of COVID. So they were waiting off my property on the other side of my fence. So I walked over to them and I said, "What's up, guys?" They're like, "Oh, we're just here to check if you're home for your quarantine. Obviously, you're home." I'm like, "Yep, obviously I'm here." And I said, "Well, we know you're supposed to protest tomorrow, and we're here to tell you that you're not allowed to, and you better not go, or else." I'm like, "Or else what?" Like, "Oh, you're going to get fined and arrested." I'm like, "I hope so, because then I'm going to challenge it in court. I'll file a charter challenge against these so-called emergency orders. You won't be able to demonstrate justification for violating my rights, and I'll win." So that's exactly why I'm going to go there tomorrow. And they're like, "Oh, you better not." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be there." Sure enough, the next day I went to my protest. They had a contingent of officers grab me before I could even get within 2 blocks of Dundas Square. They didn't want anybody to see me or know I was there. And these cops came up and they're like, "Chris, you're not allowed to be here. You're on quarantine. You need to be at home." I said, "Do I look sick to you?" They said, "No." I'm like, "That's because I'm not. Quarantine is for sick people. I'm not sick. I'm not on quarantine. I'm going to speak unless you want to charge me or arrest me." They said, "We're not going to do anything." I said, "Fine." I go in, I did my speech. Everything was fine. After that, I was mingling with the crowd, taking pictures, etc. CBC shows up. As soon as CBC cameras are on me, a cop taps me on the shoulder and says, "Sorry, Chris, I got to give you a ticket." He gives me a ticket. I felt bad for the guy. I could tell he didn't want to. So I shook his hand, gave him a hug, congratulated him on his job. Well done. I look at the ticket. They misspelt my first name and they misspelt my last name. I think I've been in the media enough that they know what my name is. So already I was like, okay, they did this on purpose, either because they didn't want me to get a ticket, or because more likely they didn't want me to be able to challenge it in court and embarrass them. But for the optics, the public sees that I got a fine, so now they're scared to break their quarantine.
Right.
I went up on stage right then and there and called them out and said, "Guys, you gave me a ticket with the wrong name. This is a fake fine. I can't even fight it in court. I want to fight it in court. Why don't you come over here and write me a new ticket with the right name?" Obviously, they didn't.
No.
The very next week, I was on quarantine day 13, so mere hours before my quarantine ended. Went back to the protest. The commanding officer walked right up to me and said, "Chris, can I have a word with you?" Everybody started booing him, thinking he was going to talk to me about quarantine again. So did I. All he said to me was this, a direct quote. He said, "Mr. Sky, I just want to assure you that our top priority today is the safety and comfort of your people and to ensure that your rights and freedoms will be upheld today." Did not mention shit about the quarantine. So I was like, wow, these cops are actually respectable. Right then and there, Maxime Bernier, leader of PPC, and Rob Carbono, leader of Republican Party of Canada, were there. I did a photo op, hugged them, shook their hands, etc. Now, if I was such a quarantine violating threat, would they allow me to shake hands with 2 leaders of political parties in Canada Would they not go up to those people and warn them? Would they not tell them they need to get tested or quarantined after? Obviously, they know I had no chance of being sick. I was around hundreds of people. Nobody got sick.
Yep.
So then I went, and nothing else happened from that day. I went home. The very next day, they showed up at my house with a summons from myself and my wife. So now we had a court date, and they charged us criminally under the Quarantine Act. My wife was videotaping. I look at the forms. Once again, they spelled both our names wrong on the forms. This time, on video, I pointed it out. So they had no choice but to rewrite them properly. So now they had no choice but to let me challenge it in court, which I was more than happy to do.
Yeah.
So now I have Zoom court on November 12th. So to make an example, we're actually going to go to the courthouse anyway, me and a few hundred of my closest friends.
Yes.
And we're going to do Zoom court there. Now, the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to ask me for guilty or not guilty. I'm going to say not guilty. And then they're going to say that, and then I'm going to ask for disclosure. If they tell me they have disclosure ready already, I know it's a farce. I know it's going to be a mistrial. Now, if they try to tell me they need a few months and then disclosure will be ready, then I know they're serious about trying to prosecute me, and I'll get a lawyer and I'll fight it and I'll win. But in my opinion, they're just going to try to make this last as long as possible. So for everybody watching, the threat of a fine and jail time is looming over me. In reality, there's no threat of jail. Let me explain this to all the American and everybody else. Our quarantine law works like this. When you come back, you're supposed to be under quarantine. Now, if you come back and you're not showing symptoms or anything like that, and they take your temperature at the airport, they just put you under the normal quarantine. If you breach, they can give you a ticket for like $800, which you could fight and win. Now, if you came back from your vacation, coughing, sneezing, they take your temperature and you have a fever, now they give you an isolation order, not a quarantine order. Isolation order means they assume you have the virus because you're showing symptoms. Now you have to assume you have the virus. Now, if you leave your house assuming you have the virus and go to a protest with hundreds of people, you're willfully endangering the public, which is a criminal charge. Right. And that's where you can get the jail time and the large fines. So everything that they're saying is complete bullshit, as usual. Yeah. And it's not going to stand up in court because it's a violation of our charter rights. They cannot, even the emergency order says, emergency orders are subject to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, except in extreme circumstances where justification is required. And there is no other alternative. First of all, they could be giving us a 15-minute PCR swab test when we return. And they could find out within 20 minutes if we're COVID positive or not. That's already an alternative to quarantine. So right then and there, the law should get thrown out. Number two, they have to show justification every single month for this. So in March, when they had people in the hospitals, they had justification. Now, when our hospitals are virtually empty and nobody's dying, they have no justification. Cases is not justification for violating our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Mass deaths, overwhelmed public health facilities, now that's justification, which they do not have. So it would get thrown out for that. The other thing it should get thrown out for is, if you look at Europe, they only have a 10-day quarantine because all the peer-reviewed medical studies out of Europe show that even somebody who's symptomatic after 10 days is no longer contagious. So there's no reason to quarantine for 14 days. I was on day 13 and a half of my quarantine to the point where even the CDC has now removed the 14-day quarantine requirement. And that's where our government says they got it from, the CDC. So if the CDC removed it, how is our government still using it, pretending like they're citing public health officials when the public health officials are saying, no, we're not saying that. So for all those reasons, it's going to get thrown out. And that's why they don't even want it to go to court. That's why they gave me the wrong name on it in the first place. Right. But I'm going to force it to court. I'm going to show everybody that this is bullshit.
Yeah. And they picked the wrong person to make an example of.
Well, yeah. Then they tried to make an example of me the very next week. I got invited to, you heard about that, right?
Yeah. So tell everybody about that because I have a story that correlates with that. And I don't even know if you know this yet, but go ahead.
So after everything else, I've been getting invited to go all over Canada to speak as well as all over the world. So I got invited to go to a rally in Moncton, New Brunswick. And the next day I was supposed to go to Halifax. It was obviously all over social media, so everybody knew I was coming. I went there on a WestJet flight. WestJet has the policy that if you show your medical note, they let you fly. Vlad from Hugs Over Masks had the same issue. As soon as he showed the note, they let him fly without his mask. I went on there, showed my medical note, which I've done on multiple flights from Canada, Europe, etc. and they tried telling me it wasn't invalid because it was written by a nurse practitioner who's a valid medical professional who can perform surgeries, write prescriptions, and yes, write medical notes. So very calmly on video, it shows me explaining all this to them on the airplane. They would have none of it. They said, put the mask on or we're going to say you're creating a disturbance. That was what they said. By sitting there not wearing the mask, I'm creating a disturbance when there's nobody else around me and when I had a medical note. So they said they were calling the police. I said, call the police. Reality, the police knew I was coming. Before the plane even got to the jetway, RCMP came and they arrested me off the plane for not because I didn't have the mask, because I did the same thing on Air Canada. I didn't wear the mask. They called the police. And the police came and said, there's nothing we can do. He didn't break any laws. In this case, RCMP just came, said, well, I'm under arrest. On video, I asked them what I'm being arrested for, and they won't tell me. They just handcuffed me, put a mask on my face, and take me to RCMP jail. On the way there, they admitted that they arrested me because they didn't want me to speak at the protest, and that it was all over social media that I was coming. In fact, they even deleted the social media account of one of the organizers of the protest, and for the other organizer of the protest, they sent CPS to her house to try to intimidate her.
That's my Vax team out east.
There you go. That's exactly what they did. So it was a coordinated effort on part of everybody to stop our rally. And then I was in jail. It was a Saturday. It was Thanksgiving weekend. So their plan was to keep me till Tuesday because I wasn't going to be able to get a bail hearing or anything. And the only charge I had was creating a disturbance, which is the lowest charge you can get. It's no jail time. It's the fake charge they give to somebody when they want to kidnap you legally. And then they kick you out of jail a couple days later and they drop the charge. So you have no legal recourse. They got to do what they wanted to you and there's nothing you can do. So that was their plan. Thankfully, somebody made a call on my behalf and I was out in like 45 minutes. And they had to provide me an RCMP escort back to the airport. And they had to make Air Canada allow me to fly home to Toronto, even though I'm banned on Air Canada. So somebody with a lot of power made a phone call. Let's just say that. So I made it back home, and I made it back home in time to do my speech from Toronto and live stream it to Moncton, New Brunswick the next day. But you should have seen the media outlets going crazy about that. Oh, he gets arrested again. Da, 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 da.
Right.
So yeah, now they're combining those charges, which are my only real charges, with another guy named Christopher Sakocha, who's 4 years older than me, unrelated to me, never met him in my life, but he has cocaine charges, heroin charges, gang charges, etc. And they keep pretending it's me. And they know it's not me. But they can get away with it and not get charged with defamation because it's a guy with the same name, so they can say, well, we had reason to believe it was him. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. I lost you. I can't hear you.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. They must not like us talking about it still.
No, they definitely don't.
And just for the reference, CBC here in Canada is probably equivalent to CNN in the States.
Even worse. Even worse.
Yeah, they're awful.
Joke. They're a complete joke. Like, I know the news is fake news, but when you're the topic of the news, then you really see how full of shit they are.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. They're just completely full of crap.
Yeah, exactly.
They lie about everything. They push a narrative. They push the lies for the government, but people are waking up. So that's the that's the good thing.
And they keep taking government handouts. So
they want that money, and then now they have to do what the government tells them.
Exactly. So talk to me about the protest. The last one I was at was October 17th, which was phenomenal.
That was the biggest one.
Tell everybody about the energy in them. Tell them how they're progressing.
Well, because we're a genuine movement that applies to every single, not just Canadian, but everybody around the world equally, there is no stopping it. It's a juggernaut. It literally can't be stopped. It's only going to keep getting bigger until we get what we want. And that's our rights and freedoms, end of our lockdown, and our businesses open. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no negotiation. It's the government is going to capitulate to the will of the people. It's just a matter of how long it takes and a matter of what kind of accountability we're going to impose on them. We've already passed that tipping point where the vast majority of people are awake. Now they're just still scared. Not of the virus, of the government. Of the government. Let's say that again. So now with people like me being very public and taking everything that they can throw at me and coming forward, we're getting more and more people. Now when we're getting support from people like Mr. Carbono, the Republican Party of Canada, people are taking us more seriously. He just launched a new site, by the way, brand new site. It's robcarbono.com. It's his political website. And I want everybody, this is my riddle. Go to Trump's website, go to Biden's, go to Trudeau, go to O'Toole, go to the NDP. There's one thing that all of those sites have that Mr. Carbone's site does not have. And it goes to show you exactly how legit he really is. That's my riddle for the day. I want somebody to come and tell me what every other political site, including Donald Trump, has that Mr. Carbone's site does not have, that shows that he is really a man for the people.
Awesome.
That's my riddle for the day. We'll see if anybody's intelligent.
No kidding. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
And I'd like to point out that yesterday I told everybody that, yes, Trump is going, I said this way back, that Trump's going to win the election. But yesterday I told everybody that for the first time in history, you're not going to get the election results tonight. In fact, you'll probably have to wait all the way until, what I've been told, November 17th. Put that day in your head. And I posted this yesterday on Facebook, and I said it yesterday on a live chat before the election, so nobody could say that I just said it after the fact. And that's a pretty big prediction, to predict something that's never happened before in the history of the world. Just saying.
Yeah. No, and the majority of us have we saw it coming.
Yeah.
We saw it coming.
Right? Of course.
Like, there's no way that in 6 different states you just stopped counting.
No, it's all bullshit.
You know, and then all the ballots coming in last minute are 100% for one party.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I know. It's complete bullshit. Trump's going to end up winning, but there's going to be lawsuits and all the rest of it. The Dems aren't going to go down without a fight.
No. Sore losers. So, can you walk people through a quick tutorial on their rights when they're shopping? They're terrified to challenge. So let's go through step by step.
Very simple. First of all, the mask mandate is a bylaw, not a law. So if they say they're going to call the police on you, if the police come there, there's absolutely nothing they can do to you unless you did something criminal, like punch someone in the store, tip over one of their aisles, or cause some kind of disturbance. If you walk in there during this time the store's hours are open and you're simply trying to do your shopping like a normal person without a mask, with good intentions, and they come and try to kick you out or try to deny you service, you are not in violation of any law. You are not in violation of any bylaw, as long as you tell them, I have a medical condition that prevents me from wearing a mask. As soon as you say that, by law, by the bylaw, they have to accommodate you service. They cannot ask you what your condition is. They cannot ask you for proof of your condition. And they cannot tell you, oh, we'll do your shopping for you. Oh, we'll give you curbside service. No, that's called discrimination. It's the same thing if a black person or a gay person came in and they said, sorry, you can't come in our store, but we'll give you curbside service. No, they would get charged and they would lose. It's the same thing if you go in there and tell them, I have a medical condition that prevents me from wearing a mask, and they try to discriminate against you. It's called discrimination against a disabled person, and it's not only a bylaw violation at that point, it's a human rights violation. So if they call the police on you, you know what you do? You wait for the police to show up, and at the same time, you call the bylaw police. When the bylaw police show up, you use the normal police as your witness to tell the bylaw police how you were denied service by this store after you told them of your medical condition. The bylaw officers will go inside and the store will be fined. And if the store really wants to mess around, you can file a human rights complaint. However, when you file a human rights complaint, it's going to go to court. You don't need to hire a lawyer. You can represent yourself. But in court, you will have to prove your medical condition. So you'll have to have a doctor's note or something else. If you do that, the store can be fined up to $10,000. So what I do when I go into a store, I just walk in. If they say, where's your mask? Because I have a medical condition. Normally, they don't even say anything to me. Maybe because they recognize me, or maybe because they just don't want to be bothered. Or maybe because we're actually getting through to people and they realize if someone's not wearing a mask, you should just leave them alone. But 75% of the time, nobody says anything. 25% of the time, someone will say, where's your mask? And I'll say, I have a medical condition. 95% of the time, that's where it ends, and nobody says anything. Sometimes they try to give you a hard time. If they give you a hard time,
this is a private establishment, right? What do you have to say?
Yeah, they say it's a private establishment. You say, sorry, you're a private establishment offering a public service. It's not a private establishment like a residence. If I come to your residence, which is a private home, they can say, no, you're not coming in without a mask, and there's nothing you can do about it. If I go to a grocery store, a private business offering a public service, and they say you can't come in without a mask, when the mask bylaw states I can honor my medical exemption, now they are in violation of the law, not you. And then you simply tell them it's discrimination against a disabled person. I will wait here. If you call the police, I will call bylaw, and they'll both come. Nothing will happen to me. You will get a fine, and then I'll file a human rights complaint against you. You could also, if it's a big chain store, call the head office and file a complaint. That also works very well, especially if it's against an individual employee. Because a lot of the times, most employees in the store know the policy, but there's one asshole that wants to try to impose their will on you. So they'll try to intimidate you, and they'll try to tell you otherwise. And then in that case, you just complain to head office, and that person will get reprimanded or fired. But never capitulate. Never let them bully you. And if another customer says something to you, you simply say, I have a medical condition. And if they say anything else, you say, you have two options. You can be quiet and mind your own business, or you can walk away and mind your own business. It's that simple.
Right, exactly. Now, what do we have to say about, do you have anything to say about the mandatory masks in schools? Because I know we have a group called Parents for Mask-Free Education that all parents need to check out, but I know that you have another option as well. So we're going to talk more.
Well, we're trying to make another option. The mask in schools is absolutely ridiculous. Even countries like China do not have masks on their children in school. Communist countries are giving their children more rights than we're giving in Canada. And China has 1.4 billion people and less COVID deaths than Canada without the masks. How do you explain that? How do you explain that the top 5 countries in the world with the most COVID deaths all mandated masks? And then you try to call me and other people like me anti-science for going against mask mandates when the vast majority of the world's population is not mandated to wear masks, and they're doing a lot better than the people that are. So the schools, the mask, the social distancing is a massive psychological operation to traumatize our children, psychologically traumatize them to become terrified of everything, not be able to make any decisions, not be able to take any criticism, and simply be autonomous drones, not even able to walk through a doorway unless there's a little dot on both sides for them to stand on and somebody to tell them when it's safe to go through. Right. It's entirely indoctrination. It's entirely unhealthy for the children. It's going to hamper and even destroy their mental and cognitive development. And it should be the number one thing everybody's talking about. And it should not be happening. That's why we created private on-demand education, which is a private school system. We're doing it 3 different ways because the government gave us a whole bunch of problems. So the 3 different ways we're doing this is, number 1, we're doing what we're calling a hybrid system because we're only allowed to put up to 4 children in person in a single area if it's a residential zone. Otherwise, they impose these crazy regulations on us that make it impossible. So the way to get around this is we created a model called hybrid private pods. So you have a base location with 1 teacher and 4 students. Then you have remote locations with up to 4 students that link to that. And because you're using a Montessori educational system, which gives the kids a lot of freedom, the distance learning is built into that. So it works very well with the remote learning. It also gives the parents the ability to still drop their kids off at school so they can go to work, do what they have to do. And it gives the kids the ability to interact with other children. So we're doing that. That's one of our models. Our secondary model is we're working with churches because churches have institutional zoning, which is more congruent with schooling guidelines. So using churches and their homeschooling networks, we can actually come up with schools that conform with the zoning, and we can put up to 50 children in them. So we're looking to, that's another way we're looking to expand the pod system. And the third way is micro schools with just the teacher and the 4 kids that I'm looking to get private funding for. And I'm going to try to open 3 or 4 of these schools completely pro bono in February with the tuition 100% covered by the investment firm. So it's going to be like, I guess, a trial run to see how the school system works. So my plan is to open 3 or 4 of these schools all in different cities with a different teacher in each school, same curriculum, different age groups to see how it works. And then hopefully expand it from there. Ideally, COVID ends this year and we don't have to worry about these social distancing problems, and then we can just get our kids back in normal schools rather than private schools, or rather than public schools. But we don't know. We're taking it day by day. And the reason they're not open now is because with the lockdown looming in the next couple of weeks, there's no point in trying to open a school that's only going to get shut down. It's just going to cause more trauma for the kids than anything else.
Yeah, no, I get that. Is So for the newcomers then, like the people that are just starting to see what's happening and they're, just waking up, and that's a terrible term because I know they don't like that. But
well, it's the truth.
Yeah. So for the people just waking up, is there one place you would direct people to look to help educate themselves? And where would that be?
100%. Right now, it's all our Facebook groups. If you follow me on Facebook at Chris Sky, you follow me on Instagram at meet.the.skies, S-K-Y-S. I made a new website. It's going to be absolutely huge because Facebook's been censoring. I warned everybody they were going to do this in my speech live. And then 3 days after my live warning, they took down MAD, the Mad Line Santa Claus Parade page, and the Lion Facebook page all at once. MAD's been taken down 3 times now. And we got it put back up for the 4th time. And in like less than a week, we almost have 10,000 members back. So if people go to MAD group, they'll learn a lot. If people go to the Lion, they'll learn a lot. But we're trying to make a new site where everybody that's anti-lockdown, everybody who's part of these groups can go. It's called overcomethevirus.com. OTV, overcomethevirus.com. Right now, it's just in a very shallow beta mode, but I'm working with a very big company. We have actual funding from another very big corporation, and we're turning it into basically a social media Facebook-style page, but it's going to be uncensored, no fact-checking, and it's going to be focused on lockdown, the consequences of lockdown. So it's going to be basically a whole new social media page, professionally created, with all the same features as a Facebook, but for the anti-lockdown movement all around the world. So we can't be fact-checked, we can't be censored, we can't be deplatformed, etc. And we're going to steal so many people from social media. We're going to end up with hundreds of millions of people on this site. So it's something to watch, and it's going to be launching hopefully by the end of the month in its real form. We're just getting people to go over there now just to like get it.
Beta version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that's great. And also for those just waking up, I want you to clarify, are these rallies anti-mask, anti-vax, anti-gun, anti...
I hate when people use that word. Anti-mask is a label that the left and the media came up with. It's like white supremacist, racist. It's what they say when they don't have an argument. I'm not anti-mask. If you work in healthcare, if you work with elderly, or you're sick, you should be wearing personal protection equipment. A mask does not qualify as personal protection equipment. No doctor in the history of mankind ever wore a surgical mask to try to prevent viral transmission. It never. It just does not happen. Personal protection equipment is a medical grade respirator, like an N95 or better. Why? These have specialized HEPA filters that block micron-sized particles, which viruses are. So they actually protect you against viral transmission. So no, we're not anti-mask. If you're in healthcare, if you're working in these types of situations, you should wear personal protection equipment for yourself and others. However, to tell somebody that they need to wear a mask, which we know does nothing, to tell someone that they need to pretend that they're sick 24 hours a day and everyone else around them is sick 24 hours a day, so everybody needs to wear a mask, is literally insane. 99% plus people are not sick. Your mask, even if it did work, which it doesn't, can only protect you from somebody who's sick. So you pretending like you're sick and everybody else is sick is called insanity because it's just not reality. So no, we're not anti-mask. We're anti-mandatory because mandatory masks becomes mandatory contact tracing, mandatory vaccine, and mandatory digital IDs. And at that point, you are now a serf that have given up all your rights and freedoms. Why? Because somebody told you to? Literally, the rights and freedoms you enjoy and take for granted, millions of people fought and died for. And now you're going to give them up without a fight because the TV said a mandatory mask is for your own good. Mandatory contact tracing will help stop the spread. A mandatory vaccine is healthy. Mandatory digital ID, do your part. That's what it takes. Before it took people putting a gun to your head and blowing your brains out to take your rights and freedoms. Now it takes some moron on TV to tell you to put a mask on your face, and that's all it takes for you to give up your rights and freedoms. Yeah. And not only give up your rights and freedoms, advocate for others to do the same and even attack them if they don't.
Yeah. Well, this generation is so far removed from having to fight for any kind of freedom
Yeah.
They don't have a clue. They don't know where to start. They just, the government must be telling me the right thing.
Yeah.
They want to protect me.
Yeah, these people think the best way to get their rights and freedoms back is to give up their rights and freedoms.
Right.
That's what they're saying. Comply. Just comply. Give up your rights and freedoms. Comply. Then this will all be over. No, you dumb shits. They're trying to get you to give up your rights and freedoms. And yes, as soon as you do that willingly, it is all over for you.
Yep. And you don't get them back, guys.
No. Rights and freedoms are never given. They're always taken. The only way they're given is when you're stupid enough to give them away. Period.
Yep. So someone that wants to wear a mask, is fearful of the virus, whatever. Are they welcome at the rallies?
Of course they are.
Okay. I just want to make that very clear.
We're pro freedom of choice.
Right.
We're not pro you do what we say or else. No, that's the mask wearers.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, we just wanted to clear that up because you know how the media spins it. So,
well, of course, that's why they have to call us anti-mask, because they can't say they're anti-mandatory medical procedure. That sounds too intelligent and too common sense. So they have to make up some name.
Oh, that's funny. I'm watching the reactions here in this live, and they're going down and up. So. We're being censored clearly, but whatever.
I'm used to it.
I know. I just found it hilarious because, like I said, I was talking to somebody this morning and said your name, and my internet went down, like total crash. So, and then when we got on here and it shut us off, and I moved my phone, and we're fine now. So, it's just stupid.
Well, telling the truth in a world of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. Pretty soon, you're going to get arrested just for saying my name.
Well, I'll just start putting your initials in.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll just change my name again.
Right? No kidding. So the next big event. What do we got?
We got my court date coming up November 12th.
Well, yes.
That's going to be big.
Rally-wise.
Rally-wise, as far as I know, the next big thing that I'm working on, I'm doing a rally this week in Sudbury. November 7th, I'm going down with Mr. Rob Carbono of the Republican Party. We got invited down there to turn it into a Republican stronghold. He's a fantastic guy. I've been spending virtually every day with him, learning his platform, learning a lot from him. And he's not like any of these other people that have ever run for office anywhere in the world ever. He's exactly what we need. He's the kind of person that can fix this country and make sure this stuff doesn't happen again. So I've been working on.
Can you talk to me a little bit about his platform, because I'm not familiar with it at all?
Well, he's all about increasing our GDP, increasing our standard of living while lowering our cost of living, lowering government intrusion into our lives. He's pro-gun rights. He's anti-UN. He's anti-WHO. But he still wants to provide the safety nets for the people on the liberal side of things, because he can. He has the resources and the finances that he can literally do it himself. Like I said, go to all the political websites. This is your hint. This is the hint for the riddle. Go to Trump, Biden, etc.'s website. They all have a certain feature that they want you to employ on their site very badly. Meanwhile, his is the only political website you'll find that doesn't have this feature glaring in your face asking you to do something. And there's a very good reason for that. He doesn't need it from you.
Right.
And that's exactly what should tell you everything you need to know. Now, I can't wait for you to get back to me and comment when people figure out what this is.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, really? Then tell me. Say it.
No, we're playing this game.
Okay, good.
We should offer the first one who gets it a MAD shirt.
No problem. I'll give him a MAD shirt, and I'll give him the new Republican sweaters that we're making that everybody's loving.
Right.
I'm getting a new batch for November 12th. So if anybody can solve that riddle, I'll give him a MAD shirt, and I'm going to give him a Republican hoodie.
Awesome.
And deliver it to them personally.
That's perfect. That's so good. I love it. Playing little games.
That's the big rally we got coming up. But then after that, the only big event I'm planning for the rest of the year, because to me, December should be a month where everybody relaxes, spends time with family and friends. So we're doing a Santa Claus parade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The date is up in the air. I'm trying to change it right now because originally it was supposed to be for December 5th, but I want to make it closer to Christmas, because nobody has anything else going on. It's not like people are going to be traveling and everything else. So we want to make it more close to Christmas so people associate it with Christmas. We want people from all over Canada to come. We're going to be having professional floats. We're going to have a motorcade. We're going to have marchers. I'm going to be doing a toy giveaway. We're going to be doing a basket giveaway, like Christmas baskets for families. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be bigger and better than the actual normal so-called Santa Claus parade. And the best part of all, we're inviting mask wearers and non-mask wearers to come together in the symbol of Christmas spirit, love, and unity. We don't care if you show up in a hazmat suit. It's outdoors. There's social distancing. It's going to be cold out there. No one's going to get sick. You might catch a cold if you're not wearing the right amount of clothes. But
there's no such thing as colds anymore.
No. Flu and cold don't exist anymore. No. Everything's COVID.
That's awesome. So let's say a bunch of people wake up shortly and they want to jump in on this. How do they get involved?
Well, we had the webpage set up on Facebook and they took it down. I'm going to create a new one now because we're cutting up to speed. We talk about it on Mad's Facebook page. We're going to have a dedicated page on it on OTV, Overcome the Virus, really soon. If they want to get involved, if they want to build a float, if they want to be one of the marchers, or if they want to just get more information, the line is taking all the information. It's info@thelinecanada.com, and they're taking all info for people. We're gonna, like they said, we want volunteers of all types. Whether you want to be in the parade, whether you want to help with the floats, whether you want to be a marshal to help direct the traffic, et cetera, et cetera. We need all kinds of volunteers, and most importantly, we need people coming from all over Canada. And I think we're gonna get it because every little town has their own Santa Claus parade, and it's been taken away from everybody. And it's the most important event of the year, in my opinion. Nothing brings out Canadian spirit, love, and unity like the Santa Claus parade. And when we can get the mask wearers and non-mask wearers together in a parade that was never supposed to happen, that's literally the definition of united non-compliance.
Yeah, and bring some normalcy to the kids too, right?
Thank you. That's what it's all about. It's about giving the children something to look forward to and something to actually celebrate and something that they said, well, at least 2020 wasn't a complete piece of crap year.
Garbage. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That is
Imagine
so awesome.
that, trying to provide hope to the people. They better charge me as a terrorist.
Right. I'm sure they'll have a good spin for this one too. They're probably racking their brains as we speak. Oh, we've got a month.
They have three options. They have the option to try to intimidate me with arrest, to try to stop me from doing it, in which case I would just back out and let other people handle it anonymously. They have the option of reversing their decision and doing their own Santa Claus parade because they have it all ready to go. They're going to film it and then make you watch it on TV, so they could just as easily make it live. And that would be the smart thing to do, because then they could take the credit, they can nullify my efforts, and that would be the smart thing for them to do. And the other thing they can do is just let it happen and let us take all the credit and be the people that gave Christmas back to the people. And that would be great too.
Yep. No, that's awesome. That's so good. Well, I'm so happy you joined us here today. I always love talking to you. It's so comical. I love it. It makes my day. But say hi to your beautiful wife for me.
I will do.
Guys, I'm watching these reactions on this feed, and we're clearly being censored. So like, comment, and share. Thumbs up on the YouTube thing. Let's push this through, get the algorithms going, whatever else. Parents out there, go visit parentsformaskfreeeducation.com. I could be butchering the end. I can't remember if it's .com, .ca, or .org, but I'm pretty sure it's .com. Go check that out. They also have a Facebook group, Parents for Mask Free Education. We're hoping to have them out at the Santa Claus parade as well. So I can't wait for that. My kids can't wait for that.
I think everybody can't wait for that.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that you want to say to everybody, Chris?
Yes. Keep your businesses open. Do not stay home. Take off the mask. Stand your ground. We are winning. We are. United non-compliance. That is the key term. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And, thank you. We'll talk again soon. We'll catch up again shortly. Like I told you, whenever you want me, you got me. It's .com. There it is. I saw it. There it is. Somebody's on my
parentsformaskreeducation.com. We're good. Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, and go find Chris's Facebook pages and websites, and overcomethevirus.com as well, guys. Okay, let's support one another and create the network we need to get through this, and
make sure it never happens again.
Make sure it never happens again. Right, exactly. All right, well, wish Mr. Carbono well for me as well. I'm going to go check out his website and see if I can figure out the riddle.
It's pretty easy once you look at all of them side by side.
Exactly.
Especially the Canadian ones, they really put it in your face over and over and over and over again.
Don't they? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Chris. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.